Hi Ben, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. How are you
Hello.
doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, thank you. I'm all good. Just sort of, ticking along, doing magic as and when I can, and kind of enjoying the time off in a way.
That's good. So we're looking forward to welcoming you to the Core Theatre in Solihull with your new tour Wonder. You last performed at the Core Theatre in 2014 in our little studio room.
Wow.
I know,
Wow.
with The Outsider.
Yeah,
Um,
I did do that. I didn't do many dates of that tour, so that was, yeah, I kind of remember that. Seems like a very long time ago.
yeah, 2014 was quite a while ago now, I guess. But so what has changed for you since then?
Well, my shows now are bigger. I'm better. I've gotten a lot better. And I don't think much has sort of changed. I still do shows which are very kind of rooted in storytelling. I try to get as many moments of magic into the show as I possibly can. I really enjoy that feeling of being amazed. And so I will never sacrifice that feeling of amazement for something else. Do you know what I mean? Some magicians would say, "Oh, well, it can't be amazing all the time." I hope that my show is amazing all the time. Nothing's really changed. Yeah, it's just all the same, but I tour in a bigger vehicle now. When I was doing that tour, I was touring in my tiny little car, and all of my props were designed to fit in the car, and they'd all be these weird dimensions because it would be like, has to fit in the gap between the two front seats, or has to fit sideways in the boot. Everything was based on the dimensions of the car. Now I don't have those creative constraints.
No, now you can go all out. You can have as big
Yeah,
props as you like.
yeah, exactly.
And you're in the main theatres now, so
Yeah,
that'll be
cool.
great. So what can audiences expect from Wonder when we do get to see it?
Well, it's a magic show. And it's like unashamedly a magic show. Of all of the performers out there at the moment, I'm probably the one who has the style that is most like, I don't know, people say my style is like magic, that's like from the past almost. But it's still funny, it's like a funny, and it still feels contemporary and edgy, I think. But the
Yeah.
type of magic I'm doing is the type of magic you would have seen 100 years ago. And I try to make that contemporary. So I guess it's a show it's very hard for me to describe my own show. It's like anybody who's seen me on Britain's Got Talent, or any of the TV stuff I've done, it's a type of thing. There's storytelling. It's very easy to lose yourself in the show. I always come into the show with the attitude of me believing that magic is real, which it's not. But because of that, it's really easy to just get lost in the fantasy of it all. And I do every night as well. And I come off stage and I think I can do amazing things, wave my hand at the dressing room door, and I'm disappointed when it doesn't open.
I mean, that's fair. I think you do real magic. I mean,
Well,
that's
I
it,
mean,
isn't it?
what's really magical about magic shows is you might go into the show feeling skeptical, like, oh, I'm going to see if I can figure it out, which is fair enough. Like, that's a good reason to go to a magic show. But after a while, it starts to eat away at you. And eventually you do give up trying to figure stuff out. And then you do just go with it. And sometimes the reactions I get from people, it's going to sound really cheesy, but that is like real magic. I see fully grown adults and hide with wonder as if they're like a child again. And it's a really powerful emotion that you don't feel anywhere else. You go through your whole life thinking you know how everything's done.
Mm-hmm.
So when something hits you and it has an emotional and intellectual like kind of impact on you, and you feel like a kid in astonishment, that's very special that I get to do that for people, for me. Like, I can't think of any other situation in life where you feel that emotion. So I'm like, that's the reason why I keep doing magic and why I work so hard on my shows. There are easier jobs out there, but I just really get a kick out of that, helping people to feel this fresh astonishment.
So, what would you say is the most challenging thing then about being a magician?
Well, there are lots of things that are hard about any job, of course, but certainly a magician is hard because you dream up something impossible and then you try to solve it. So from the get-go, you're already up against it. When I'm developing a new piece of magic, I don't really know until I'm doing it on stage whether it's going to work.
Okay.
because I don't, it doesn't fool me. I know how it's done.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to impact the audience in the way that I'm aiming for until I do it. And that can be really hard sometimes. It's very hard touring a magic show like we do, just because we do one-nighters and we go all over the country. And that's really a challenge because, of course, the show is supposed to look very simple, but the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes and all the preparation and all that stuff, it's really tough. It's really tough work. We work really hard. We do it because we love it, that's for sure.
It's always good to love your job. So how do you sort of like come up with a new trick? How do they formulate? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, I wish there was an easy process, because if I knew what the process was, I'd be able to know where to start. The truth is, ideas can come from anywhere, and a lot of things don't make it past the final hurdle. Basically, I'm always trying to look for, is there an idea? Is there something out there in the world that is magical or interests me? And then I'm always thinking about, like, is there a prop or an object that would be good or interesting? Or is there a magic trick from the past that I like that I can try and renovate and, renew? So you've got all these separate things whizzing around all the time. And every now and then these separate spiraling, spinning little ideas bump together. And then you get these little flashes of like a story script idea meets a mechanical idea. And then you go, aha, I've got it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but
No, not at all. Like a eureka moment.
Basically, yeah, it's all I'm doing is just planting loads and loads of seeds. I've got loads of notebooks. I'm always talking to people about ideas. Plant all the seeds, and eventually over time they grow or they don't grow. And there isn't anything conscious about the process. I just wait for inspiration, and I make a lot of material. So I'm happy to pursue an idea, even though it might end in failure. Just constant. It's like I live my life like being in a laboratory all the time. I'm always developing material constantly, and not maybe one idea every 3 months makes it into the show, but there might be 200 ideas in that 3 months. Yeah.
And I'm sure this is the question you're absolutely tired of hearing, but how have you been getting on in lockdown? What's that changed?
Well, it's been interesting because I've been through lots of, like we all have, I've been through loads of sort of, depression, like different emotions, happiness, enjoying the sun, hating the weather, hating the winter, all that sort of stuff. But at the moment, I'm actually quite busy, so I'm okay. I do a lot of work as a designer of magic for other people, and as we're starting to slowly see a bit of hope in theatre and TV and film, and everyone's starting to make stuff again, people keep coming to me looking for their inspiration. So I'm keeping busy. But I'm keen to get back and do the show. Keen to go back and do the show as I know it, because there's a sort of comfort in it for me.
Yeah.
Like it's my happy little place. I tour with really good friends. And I really like seeing new cities. I really like meeting people. I really like all of that. So I really do miss that.
I mean, yeah, I can imagine that it's because had you started your tour, or were you just about to?
I was about halfway through what we had originally planned to do. So it really came at a bad time for me, because I was like, the show was getting really good. It was just at the point where we all knew exactly how to run it. It was running really smoothly. I was really enjoying it. Starting to hear lots of really positive stuff from the audiences, Anyway, yeah, we sort of started and then finished. And we sort of packed it all up. We packed it all up thinking, of course, we would be back in a couple of weeks. We thought, we'll just take a little break.
I think we all did. That threw stretched on a very long time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you do trick designing. So you've done lots and lots of stuff already in your career. You've consulted on West End shows. You've been touring the UK. You've been on TV. You've done Britain's Got Talent, Killer Magic, which I loved. That was brilliant.
Oh, cool.
And the list goes on, really. So what would you pick out as like your favourite career highlights?
Well, that's really hard. It's really hard because I have been lucky to do a lot of things, and they're all so they've been so different. I think that's probably what's been interesting about my career compared to, you know, other performers in niche fields, in that I've done so many different things that I can be just as proud of an idea I've given to somebody else as a moment in my career where I've stood and taken the applause. For me, it's not really about the glory, it's about the creative process. So some of my best career highlights have been the least prestigious things, but they've just been times in my life when creatively I've been collaborating with people, we've really hit it off and something really exciting's come out of it. I mean, doing Britain's Got Talent was pretty amazing because I went into the show knowing, well, I went into the show having already done quite a lot of things. I wasn't completely unknown doing the show.
Mm.
And I went in and said, I'm just going to do what I do. I'm not going to change what I do for the sake of it being a Saturday night ITV TV show. A lot of people change what they do. They try to make it funnier or whatever. I don't know. They're not true to themselves. I just went in and said, I'm just going to do my act, just exactly what I do. So that was amazing that the public really responded to that, because it gave me a lot of validation in what I was doing. It made me know, oh wow, actually all that stuff I've been doing, I didn't change anything, but they actually really liked it. And of course, millions of people watching and liking it is very different to 200 people in a theatre watching it and liking it. So that made me feel a bit all funny inside. But I'm wary of that because I felt funny inside because that was sort of ego stroking. So yeah. I'm a bit wary to say that was a highlight because it's a bit of an egotistical highlight. But I did like it.
It was true though. You did sort of stay true to yourself because, you know, I've been aware of you since you first performed at our theatre and that, and it was it did feel like, you know, quintessential Ben watching you on Britain's Got Talent. It did feel exactly like watching The Outsider back in the day.
Yeah.
So have you got any funny stories? Any times where a trick didn't go to plan, or anything really
so
that was
many
funny?
It's a hard question because there's so many things in my life don't go to plan. Like everybody's lives, you know. And things go awry all the time. And I think that's probably true of any performer. It's just that in magic, you've got the extra edge of like, maybe if something goes wrong, it doesn't fool the audience. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're a jazz pianist, so yeah, you're jazzing along and you hit something that's really off out of key, over to that and incorporate that mistake into your work. In magic, if something goes wrong, sometimes the trick just fails. I'm trying to think of a good example of things going wrong, but you know, when things go wrong, they're usually quite embarrassing for me. So the usual thing is like, I have to say, in the last few years, I can't think of an example of a magic trick going wrong where it totally failed. I can actually only think of one, but it wasn't very interesting. I was ending the show and I had to find somebody's card at the end of the show, and I just found the wrong one. But I was convinced it was the one they'd chosen because I'd secretly made them choose it. Yeah. But what happened was I'd secretly made them choose the wrong card. So it was just like, I secretly made them choose the wrong card, and I was like, no, they're saying no, it wasn't, and I thought they were lying because I knew that I'd made them choose the card anyway. But all sorts of things have gone wrong. You know, I can't even think of good examples. So I've really ruined that question, haven't I?
No.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Yeah. I've done the show with the flies open for the whole show. You know. So now I make sure on the checklist, check flies are done up. That's now on a checklist. So anything can only go wrong once.
That's good. I mean, yeah, smooth recovery and all that. So I'll go to my last question now. Why should people come and see Wonder?
Because we all need a chance to escape from the world that we find ourselves in at the moment. Magic is a chance for you to just completely lose yourself in the moment and feel an emotion you don't often feel of amazement. And we got to go back into the theatre, to see live entertainment with other people is totally exhilarating. and the show's really funny. It's suitable for any age. I mean, it's not a show that's designed for young kids, but it's fine for anyone. And because magic is a dying art form, and everybody loves magic, but there are not many chances to see magic shows live and on tour. They're really, really hard to tour. So the fact that we're kind of doing it, if you like magic, this is a really good magic show to see, because you have to be totally insane to tour a magic show. And I guess I am that guy.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're very welcome. It was really fun.